I'm gonna take another pass at efficiency testing these quads. I've made some adjustments and I have a new process that I think will hopefully get me good results. So I realized that my 4S build had 5-inch arms and my 6S build had 5.5-inch arms. So I've been meaning to swap that out anyway, and so I've got them both on 5.5-inch arms now. I'm gonna make sure I get the exact same camera tilt because the distance of the motors away was throwing off my camera tilt a little bit. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to our high school track, and hopefully no one's there. If no one's there, the plan is to take the quad around one lap and try to keep a consistent height around the track. Take off from the exact same spot, land in the exact same spot. I might do 2 laps around the track, but the whole goal is to try to get the quad to travel the exact same distance for every single battery. Finally, the last thing I'm gonna do is I've got 4 4S packs and I've got 4 6S packs. I'm gonna make sure the quads weigh the exact same amount, and I'm gonna do the test on 4 batteries for 6S, 4 batteries for 4S, and then I'm gonna balance charge them so it'll average out the total mAh. And I am doing watt hours too, someone brought that up. Obviously the mAh that goes back into the battery is how many milliamps per cell. So like if you look at 400 milliamps per cell on 6S, it's 400 milliamps times 6. 400 milliamps on 4S would be 400 milliamps times 4. We do have to do a little bit of math there to get the actual watt hours or watts that is used from the packs. We are calculating watts or watt hours or total milliamps across the cell count. So that number should work. I'm gonna do it for 4 batteries for each. I'm gonna do a 1/4 mile lap, and I'm gonna try to keep a consistent height off the track. That way it's fair from quad to quad. I'll also try to do fairly similar like speeds too. I might go like punch outs on the straightaways and slower in the turns or something. And then we're going to average out the total watts used across 4 packs, 4 laps. I hope that makes sense to you. If you have questions, please let's talk about it in the comments. I'm definitely excited to see what the results are like. I did fly the 6S quad yesterday in a race and it did feel really good. The tune does feel better on the 6S builds, hands down. That is a really big deal and a cool thing. I don't know, what it is. If the PID controller just likes the responsiveness of the motors based on the voltage, I have no idea why, but it does feel a little better. Most of the sag is gone, so that's kind of cool too. But anyway, I'm just gonna do a montage of the little testing process here, and then we'll head back to my office and pour through these results. Let's do it. Alright, so that's 6S, that's 4S. Let's go see what the data says. Here we go. Alright guys, so here's the data from the chargers. I was using the ISDT little chargers that everyone's used to. I put all the batteries on balance boards and charged them all at once. On the left hand side there you can see the 4S batteries took a total of 2.2 amp hours per cell. And then on the right hand side we've got the 6S batteries. They took 1.53 amp hours per cell. So if you do the math, that means that the 4S setup over 4 different runs, ended up doing 3 laps, which was 1,200 meters. Those runs took up a total of 8.8 total amp hours. Whereas the 6S build was the exact same situation, the exact same weight of a quad, ended up taking 9.2 0.18 total amp hours. So unfortunately, it looks like the 6S setup ended up being less efficient than the 4S setup. Now, I've got some theories about this. Now, I'm not saying that 6S is bad. I'm not saying that I don't like 6S. None of that. 6S does feel better. I don't think lower efficiency is enough for me to avoid it. To have a better feeling, a better flying quad, to have more torque and more power, like I'll give up a little bit of efficiency. And the amount of efficiency ended up being just over 4%. In this test, a sample size of 4 samples per quad, difference in efficiency ended up being just under 4.2%. Not a big difference. One thing I wanted to point out too is that the kV equivalent is not exact. Max RPM based on voltage, the 4S setup 2522 kV at 14.8 volts says the 4S setup has a max RPM potential of 37,325.6 RPM, whereas the 6S setup, which is 1722 kV at 22.2 volts, has a max RPM potential of 38,228.4 RPM. Now, that in itself could very well be the difference between the two, because what that says is that the 6S setup has a potential of something like 2.4% more RPMs than the 4S setup. So that could be the difference in efficiency. But what I think it really is that on the 4S setup, when I was on those back straights, I was in Sag City. I could feel those batteries giving up the ghost and, wanting to just, puff out and die. Like they were not handling that, 3 to 5 seconds of full throttle very well. In those instances, when you're pushing full throttle, when the 4S setup sags out and isn't able to deliver the amps, is that technically more efficient than the 6S setup where I would give it full throttle and the battery was capable of delivering all those amps? Maybe that's why the 4S setup ended up being a little bit more efficient, just because the batteries were capable of delivering the amps needed more consistently. So nonetheless, this was a fun test. I know for me, it was a little disappointing. I was really hoping that the 6S setup was just going to be, hands down total winner when it comes to efficiency, but it's not. Does that mean 6S is bad? No. There's some instances where people are finding 6S batteries that are more milliamp hours, more total watts than a 4S pack for the same weight, because they're able to use a lower C-rated battery. That's a whole different discussion that you guys can, delve into if you want. But I think it's pretty plain here that in this case, a 22 kV 4S setup is in fact going to be more efficient than a 1722 identical 6S setup. Guys, I hope this was fun for you. It was fun for me. I like jumping down these rabbit holes and all that. So let's talk about it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you saw anything that you thought I should have done different, let me know. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking this out, and we'll catch you next time on Heart of America FPV.